So it's like we all do stupid things. And the Bible says the wages of sin is death. So every time you commit sin and stuff like that that doesn't glorify God, death is coming to you faster. Unless you repent, of your sins, death will come to you faster. And like I said, I'm not saying I'm not excluded. I'm not saying I'm excluded from this. Same thing applies to every man, woman, and child in this rule of life. So I hope I hope she understands that why I wrote it. It's like tie both 187 line to everybody throwing up their gang signs.
Everybody throwing up them gang signs, repping the hood that they claim. It's funny they pour liquor when they die, saying rest in peace to Alias, but do they know his name? 187, there's a homicide. Count the tears, you made your mama cry. While she sees you in the courtroom, exited the prison cause you couldn't let it slide.
Because it's all connected.
Yeah, at the end of the day.
You know what, one of my favorite part, another part my brother said that he loved is when I talked about just the other day I saw a man die.
Just the other day I saw a man die. Still cannot get the image out my mind. Opioid God must have shielded his eyes. Death was coming for him. He was gone before he saw the signs.
Now I want everybody to know that every part of this, the lyrics to Streets, is part of my own life's experience. You know what I mean? It's part of my own life's experience. So it's not like I just wrote it just to write it. No, I seen things when I was in the cities. You know what I mean? So when I wrote, just the other day I saw a man die, that was an actual true statement.
Yeah, you saw something that happen.
I saw it actually happen. And even that happened, I want to say that happened back in maybe 2011, 2012. I can't remember. It was well more than 10 years ago. Till this day, I still see the image of that guy's face.
The one that died.
That one that died. I can describe you to the T what he looks like. And this was over a decade ago.
I believe it.
And he died in Kensington. And it looked like it was from a drug overdose. And like when I say, it doesn't leave my mind. And I wrote, opioid God must have shielded his eyes. Death was coming for him. He was going for he saw the signs.
Yep.
Now, why did I write that? It's because he was serving the God of drugs.
That's the guy he served, which is a shame.
Bible says, be ye sober.
Or at least try to be so.
You know what I mean? And, and like I said, the beast comes like a lion, seeking to who he may devour.
Yeah.
So, like, when you're not worshiping God, you're worshiping something that's not God. And when you on these drugs and stuff, like I told you before in the other episode, I said drugs is not a substance, it's a spirit.
Yeah, sure enough it is.
You're injecting demons within you. So the God he served, I say opioid God, must have shielded his eyes. So the whole time, death was coming for him when he was shooting up.
Yeah.
And before he realized what was wrong, death came and killed him.
Yeah, because if you believe that drugs is a spirit, it's going to try to take you any which way. That's why it feels good.
Right. And like I seen, like I said, I remember what clothes he wore. I remember what his face looked like. And the cop that came up to him, because where he died on a step. He was on a step. Yeah, he was on a stoop. And when the cop showed up, when I was watching him, he picked him up and threw him down like a piece of trash.
Yeah.
And I was so shocked. Like, you figure somebody like if there was a person, you figure you lay him down gently and stuff. No, he picked him up and just threw him like to the side, like it was nothing. I can understand it with this desensitizing because there's a lot of situations that I told you about when I was in the city delivering, to the point that I'm even desensitized on some of the stuff that happens out there. Where somebody who not exposed to it, like Jerry, he could be like, "Oh my gosh," and I'm like, "Yeah, this always happens." To the point that it just desensitizes you. It's like you just like it just, like I say, they're no longer human. Okay, it's just like another body, whatever. Especially like when you serve in the, in the cities for over a decade and stuff like that, and it's a rotten shame how you could just be desensitized when you see death. And like that's what the Lord had me write when I wrote that, because it's like, you know, you're God. That's what you might see it as, you getting high and chasing the ghost, but Jesus might be looking at it from the spiritual sense. He's seeing demons ready to take you, to claim you.
Well, yeah, because you're setting yourself to be open. Like, that's the thing. I think people don't realize, when you take certain drugs, especially, you're like opening yourself up, and you don't know what's gonna come in.
Right. So that was one of the lines up in there. Now, one of my other favorite lines, fatherless sons carrying guns, while trying to learn the ways of a man, but can't overcome the evil that sprung, making them die too young, and led to the land of the damned.
Fatherless sons carrying guns while trying to learn the ways of the man, but can't overcome the evil that sprung, making them die too young, and led it to the land of the damned. That will be done.
Like, do y'all understand why I said that? Because to me it sounds self-explanatory because of the way I wrote it, but I didn't know if y'all had had no idea why did I write that.
Well, because a lot of the youth right now, they're not being raised by that.
Right.
So they become these almost like child soldiers out here.
Right. So, and that's, it's even Tupac mentioned that in a couple of his songs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where he didn't have a dad, but he had a hood that was like a family.
Yeah.
So, that was closest to the family. So whatever they go through, that's the law that he runs by. Because that to them, that's their own sense of family.
Yeah.
And you're right. A lot of these kids aren't raised by strong fathers, either by no fathers or by weak fathers who don't take raising their children seriously.
And there's a book that I read decades ago. That's what I was like looking up. It was called, there was two of them. There was A Long Way Gone and then Child Soldier. And it talks about, like, there's a couple chapters in it with kids who become soldiers out there in Africa due to the lack of parents.
Right.
Because their parents are killed off. So here, even though, we're not in a war zone, but we are in a war zone. Because a lot of the parents where the kids are parentless are usually either in their own addiction, and now the kids are in the system, or their parents are not even around. They're absentee.
Right.
You got these kids out here doing whatever, going into gangs because they need that family tie of some sort, and now they're carrying guns and whatnot to protect their own.
Yeah, so it's like, they're carrying guns thinking that they're, but at the same time, when I say we're trying to learn the ways of a man, it's like you're winging it.
Well, yeah.
Kind of like when we were parents to our first child. We don't know how to be parents to our firstborn child, so we kind of winging it based upon our own life experiences.
Yeah, and the thing is, the kids look up to somebody. Like, that's the thing. At the end of the day, like, what people don't realize is, like, kids aren't adults. Like, they are looking up to somebody. So the people they look up to is their dad or
Right.
their mom. But that's what you would hope, that their dad or mom is a positive role model. But if the dad or mom or both are involved, then who are they going to look up to? They're going to look up to whoever is available, whoever's giving them any sort of attention.
Right. And because of that, they're being in bondage.
Yeah.
Like
they're being already put behind the 8 ball where they don't need to be.
Right. So in essence, it's going back to that other verse in the beginning. So when you're trying to learn the law the ways of life on your own, and you wrapping yourself up with the being part of the gang life and the gang culture because that's the closest family that you got, you're turning yourself into the slave of the hood.
Oh yeah, that's like part of keeping people enslaved.
Right.
Really think about it.
Right.
You're gonna have a whole generation of enslaved people and not realize it.
Right.
And it's due to the climate and the culture, absentee
right.
parents.
And the sad part about it is like when, what I said, they're trying to learn the ways of the man, but they can't overcome the evil that's sprung. Meaning they can't overcome the trap that Satan has put upon them.
Yeah.
And because they got sprung on that trap, they dying young, and when they wake up, they're in hell.
Yeah.
And that's why I say, evil that sprung, making them die too young, it led into the land of the damned, thy will be done.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I threw a Bible verse, like, your will be done. Whatever you do on this earth, the results of your eternal afterlife, or regardless if it's damnation or paradise, is off by your own hand.
Yeah. And what you do on this earth.
Right. And like I said, it's not only, like I said at the end, it's not only on the city streets, it's happening everywhere.
Yeah.
It happened in the burbs, it's happening in rural areas, it's happening, even in the farms, out in the woods and stuff like that. It's happening all over the place, to the point that it feels like, especially here in the United States has some of the most highs, I believe has the most high gun violence in the whole entire world. Like, I think we pretty much surpass a lot as far as gun violence. I'm not saying murders or whatever, but as far as gun violence, we're up in the top of the list of gun violence in the world. And like I said, you could look it up, and I'm pretty sure that's what I read one time. And it's ridiculous, you know what I mean? And you just hear it, especially when you see people.
Yep, we are actually no longer number one. We are currently at number 2. Brazil has taken the lead.
So like I said, we're high up there, because we've been number 1 for a while.
We were number 1.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's like, regardless of who's pulling the trigger and who you aiming at, it's always somebody that gets hurt. And that's why I say innocents catching their eternal sleep.
We're losing ground on the country streets. I pray to God for these city streets. It's too much violence on these city streets. Gunshots, no peace. Innocents catching their eternal sleep.
Because there's a lot of situations where somebody's pulling the gun and shooting the aim at, let's say, you, but I miss and hit you, Jerry, and accidentally killed you. Like I mentioned earlier, the 14-year-old kid that got killed up in Queens, he wasn't the intended target.
I believe it. Yeah, I believe it.
Or that kid that was coming from, I believe, football practice in Philadelphia last year, when those idiots came out there and started shooting everybody, and that kid got killed wearing his football gear. He wasn't the intended target neither. So it's like all this stuff that's going on, the gun violence and just being a slave to the trade of life, you know what I mean? And I think the Lord had me write that just to have people really open up their eyes. Because the best part about that song, believe it or not, is not only like the lyrics, okay? But the best part is how my friend did the Bible verses in the beginning and the end of that song.
Therefore, just as through one man sinned entered into the world, and death through sin, and so death spread to all men, because all sinned. I have seen everything during my lifetime of futility. There is a righteous man who perishes in his righteousness, and there is a wicked man who prolongs his life in his wickedness. Do not be excessively righteous, and do not be overly wise. Why should you ruin yourself? Do not be excessively wicked, and do not be a fool. Why should you die before your time?
Which was out of Ecclesiastes. And I can't remember if I picked the verses for him or if he picked it. I can't remember that. But it just worked out so perfectly because he wanted to be part of that song. I'm not going to name his name because he doesn't want to be named. But he wanted to be part of that song. He said, I got to be part of this. Because I made him listen to the beat and I wrote the lyrics.
Yeah.
And I told him about it. So he's like, I got to be part of this. So he was like, put me in this song. One way or another, I got to be in this song. So I said, okay. So I can't remember if I looked up the Bible verses or if he did. But we came up with those Bible verses in Ecclesiastics. I'll have you put it up.
Okay.
I mean, I'm gonna have you play parts of the song while we talking to, to ease people into where the topic I'm going to. But it was crazy how the verses in Ecclesiastes fit perfectly into what I was trying to do with Streets.
Yeah.
And then my brother got with the singer Chris Hall on other projects, and when I was remaking Streets for the 2020 Vision album, I thought of her on this song. I'm like, I think she could bless this song, because in the end, which was very, very crazy, was how I ended the song with gunshots and you hear the shots.
Yeah.
And if you notice, if you really pay attention to it, I say gunshots, bang, no peace. The whole dynamic of the tempo, the beat, and everything changed because it was like an interruption of the flow.
Yeah.
And then if you notice, why did Chris sound like that at the end of the song?
It's too much violence on these city streets. Gunshots, no peace. Innocents catching their eternal sleep.
Because if you notice, I had the heartbeat playing. First you heard the bang, the shell casing that hit the ground.
Yeah.
And then you heard the body fall, and then you heard the heartbeat.
Yeah, the heartbeats was starting to cease. Yeah, the person's dying.
Right. So why was she sounding like that? Because I wanted her to represent the mother that's crying over her child dying in the streets.
I like that. Okay.
Listen to the ending part again. How she was going, no, no. She was saying no.
I think it's almost like the mom was, in
Right.
that case, yeah. Which makes sense.
And then the Bible verse came in again.
Mm.
And then at the end of the song, I said, my boy said, why must you die before your time? Now, if you notice, something happened but after I said, why must you die before your time? Can you recall? What did Chris sound like at the end of that song?
I have seen everything during my lifetime of futility. There is a righteous man who perishes in his righteousness, and there is a wicked man who prolongs his life in his wickedness. Do not be excessively righteous, and do not be overly wise. Why should you ruin yourself? Do not be excessively wicked, and do not be a fool. Why should you die before your time? Why should you die before your time?
Huh?
Sad.
Listen to the echoes I made on Chris's vocals
Okay.
when that song plays at the end. It would sound like really distorted
Yeah.
and reverbish, right? Like you hear the echo, because I wanted to represent the body leaving the soul off of this earth. So while he's dying and his mother's holding him, and you hear Chris crying, you hear a really distorted, like it sounds wicked kind of. Like,
Almost like an echo.
yeah, but it sounds wicked and stuff, because to me it sounds like he's fading off of this life, and that's what he's hearing as he goes into his afterlife.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Okay.
And the song is sad because, like I said, if that kid died in the game and she's crying over him, his trouble's just beginning,
Yeah.
because he's leaving this earth
To go someplace.
to go
worse.
to a place that's darker, which is hell.
Yeah.
So there's so much elements to this song. What I'm saying, there's so much elements to this song, And I'm like I said, it's crazy. It's probably my best work I ever done.
Yeah, you did an awesome job.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and you know, I enjoyed it creating it, and it like the whole thing was an enjoyment until it got destroyed the first time, and it broke my spirit it broke my spirit in 2020 when it got corrupted and destroyed.
I remember.
But my son said it best. He told me one day when I was like suffering through it because it tortured me for 4 years, and he said it best. He said, "I think it's the Lord." Give you an opportunity to make it better.
Yeah.
And because of that, it's so much better.
It is better.
Because with the knowledge that I learned from creating the Bible album, all the mistakes that I made, you know, with the audio and stuff, I tried to apply the new knowledge that I had, and it came out so much better. To the point when I did the song over again, my brother didn't really need to touch anything. He just touched, said, do this, and the song's great.
Yeah, it was ready to go.
So, like I said, a lot of elements to the song Streets, 2024 remake. Please listen to it. I'm not saying listen to it so I can get streaming numbers and all that stuff. It's a wide opening message that the Lord is saying to all of us about how we conduct in our lives, me included. How, you know, we need to just change our ways for the better and seek into a higher power, which is my power is Jesus Christ. And just understand that there are ways that you think that are right, but in the end of it is the way of death. So just think about that. Like I said, see the video, lyric video. I got it for anybody that don't know how to, my wife said that people from different countries learn how to English through lyrical videos. And just, I'm not saying post a like or whatever, but just stay tuned to what we're doing, because we're always trying to create positive music for everybody to help make people just understand what kind of state of mindset that we're in. And we just need to get better and just do better, because our afterlife depends on it.
Yes, sir.
So with that, stay tuned, stay alert, and always remember, you are the movement. And thank you for listening to the reasoning behind Streets, and hopefully we produce more great songs and videos as likewise, So that's it. Peace.